Hi everyone and welcome back. Okay, so I've got another winter snowy tree scene for you today. I haven't done this one recently. This is one I've done I think about a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, over on my Patreon channel. It never actually made it onto YouTube, but I thought I'd kind of re-edit it, edit it down, make a nice video for you here on YouTube. Seeing as winter snow scenes and Christmassy stuff is all quite popular at the minute, I thought you'd enjoy this one. So because this was done quite a while ago, I can't remember exactly the colours I used, but I'll do my best to try and tell you what they are as we're going along. So I think the sky was probably just a mix of cobalt blue and ultramarine, or just one of either of those colours. It doesn't really matter, you know, about using the exact same colours as me. You can just use the nearest one and you'll still get the same effect. So it's kind of any sort of nice dark blue for the sky in the foreground. Now I think it's cobalt blue with a little bit of ultramarine and a little bit of yellow ochre in the sky. Just along the bottom edge there, just to give it a nice sunny glow. And then I've gone in with, again I can't remember the colours, but I've just put some distant trees in there, wet into wet. And it really doesn't matter what colour you use there. You could even go for sort of a bluey purple colour. I've gone for more of a sort of olivey green brown colour there. And just letting it run into the paint while it's all still nice and wet there on the sky. Now I'm just going to drop in a few warmer colours there along that background tree line. I'm not sure what it is. It looks like burnt sienna, but again it doesn't matter. Just think of the colours in terms of warm and cool, light and dark, and you know you'll be near enough with this. It's a very, very simple painting to do. In fact, it was inspired by a couple of artists actually, Edward Wesson and Owen Crawshaw. They've both done a very similar composition to this, and I was kind of inspired by that, so here's my sort of attempt at it. I've just used a little bit of yellow ochre to go over the trunks of the trees there, just as a first layer. And I think I'm doing the same there in the background, just a very light wash of yellow ochre, and then going over with some sort of grey blue colour, maybe a little bit of ultramarine blue with a touch of burnt umber in there, just to make a very light grey. Okay, and then I'm now dropping in a very dark mix of burnt umber and ultramarine blue to try and get that nice sort of dark brown shadowed side to the trees, leaving a little bit of the underpainting showing through that yellow ochre there. Give the trunk sort of a nice sunny glow all down the left hand side. I do that on both trees, but on the second tree I do make the mix a little bit darker. But before that I'm just putting in a few sort of basic branches, and I'll go over those in a little while with a rigger brush and put a few finer twigs in there as well. Okay, now for the main tree, slightly darker mix here, trying to get some aerial perspective between the trees, you know, making the foreground one a little bit darker and warmer than the background ones there. Same technique, just applying it down the right hand edge of the trunk and leaving little areas of the yellow ochre showing through there on the left hand side. Again, painting in a few branches, just the main parts of the branches. I'm using, you know, I think it's a size 3 brush there I'm using, so I can't get really fine twigs with it, and that's where the rigger brush comes in. You can see there, look, I can get some nice fine twigs with that. Don't want to overdo the branches either. I want to keep this a nice, simple, fairly loose style painting. And again, using a mix of some of those browns with a little bit of yellow ochre, just to create a few dried and dead grasses, a little bit of shrubbery just sticking up there along the edge of the path. Again, just very loose, very quick. The painting only took me about an hour or less than an hour. I didn't bother stretching the paper or anything for this one. It's just taped on the board. It's an A4 size piece of paper, and it's a mixed cotton and cellulose paper that I'm using here as well. Again, any good quality watercolour paper will do for this. Now using that French ultramarine and possibly cobalt blue mix there, just to put in some shadows across the snow, cast from the trees there. This is obviously going on wet on dry. I don't want this to kind of run out anywhere or get soft edges. Nice crisp edges will define the shapes nicely for these shadows. And then I decided to strengthen the foreground shadows along that bank there. It kind of looks like it's a bit too much at this stage, but when it dries, it actually dries a lot lighter and it looks a lot better. So at this stage you've kind of got to be fairly brave with the blue mix there. Get those shadows in there and drag a few across the foreground as well, as if there's a tree just off to the left there, just out of the picture. And it's casting a shadow across the foreground. It's always a nice effect. Okay, and then I'm just going to drop in a little fence there, just some of the brown grey colours I've got on the palette. Again, just very simply done, nothing to it at all. And then with the rigger brush, I'll just suggest a few railings there across the fence. You can see I'm just dipping into anything on the palette. Really doesn't matter, just some sort of dark grey, bluey colour, brown colour, it doesn't matter. It'll all work. It's the composition that's the main thing. You can see I'm keeping it fairly loose, so very simple brush strokes. Very easy scene to do. But obviously, you know, if you want the full lesson with all the right colour mixes and being guided through every step of the way, the full lesson is obviously over on my Patreon channel, along with many other projects for you. There's over 1,000 videos over there, graphite drawings, watercolours, mixed media, all that kind of thing. So check out my Patreon channel if you're interested. A few little birds just to finish the scene off there in the sky. And we'll peel the tape off. And we'll see what we're left with. I thought to myself, well, okay, it's finished now, but wouldn't it be nice if maybe, just maybe, it snowed, just to add to the effect. And there we go, right on cue. Thanks for watching everyone. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.